Do you want to aim like this?
That's not sketchy.
Or maybe hit a flick like this?
Oh, looking to get him while he runs.
No!
Oh,
Holy sh!
yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Or how about a spray down like this?
It's up him and look at dog do it! That's disgusting!
Well, too bad. Because while these clips are undoubtedly impressive and great displays of skill, this is what 99% of fights in professional Counter-Strike actually look like. Because when the pros are trying to win, they don't care about flashy plays or making highlight reels. They prioritize consistency, efficiency, and most importantly, repeatability. But when you search up for aim guides or tips, creators mostly talk about how to practice the 1% of aiming and not the other 99, myself included. So let's get down to brass tacks and talk about how you can get professional level aim mechanics in the shortest amount of time. When people talk about aiming mechanics in any video game, they're usually referring to a group of skills that contribute towards hitting shots with a weapon. For the cases of this video, we're mostly going to concern ourselves with first shot accuracy, so that excludes spraying in this video. For the first shot of a gun, the skills that you will need are raw aim, which encompasses everything to do with moving your mouse, flicking, tracking, that kind of thing. Crosshair placement, where you strategically position your crosshair before the fight to give yourself the easiest shot, and the main topic of today's video, moving with WASD. Now for every fight, you will need varying amounts of all three of these skills, but you will see pros utilize their movement and crosshair placement for a majority of their fights more than their raw aim. But why would you move your crosshair by moving your player instead of moving your crosshair directly? Well, on a mouse, you can move however you want, wherever you want in a circular motion, but that's a problem. Even for the simplest flicks, the smallest deviations in the mouse path can take you completely off target. By contrast, movement is inherently limited in how it can move your perspective. There are only 8 directions that you can go with WASD, and your perspective through movement does not change vertically unless you walk up a ramp or stairs. So if your crosshair placement is also on point, all you have to do is hold your movement key until your crosshair's on the enemy's head, and then counter-strafe. This makes aiming with your movement far more consistent than aiming with your mouse, since there are intrinsically fewer ways to mess up, hence why the best fight to take in Counter-Strike is only reliant on movement and crosshair placement for aim. Using that logic, in a perfect world, every fight in Counter-Strike should either look like this, or on the defender side, you would use your enemy's movement to basically play Guitar Hero. But we don't live in a perfect world. Your crosshair placement might not be on target, your enemy might be playing in God knows where, they might be moving, and in these situations, movement aiming won't save you. That's when you should then use your raw aim to make up the difference, which should be easy since you already set up the fight so that your crosshair is already near target. To visualize this, every fight should start with you setting up your crosshair to pre-aim the spot that you want to clear, move towards that target, and then use your raw aim to adjust. So pre-aim, move, adjust. And that's it. It's that simple. Well, if it were that easy, then the game would be pretty boring. Remember that Guitar Hero bit for the defending side? Turns out, it's not that hard to full combo people if they are just moving in a straight line. The simplest solution to this problem is to throw off your opponent's crosshair placement with either unpredictable movement or using utility. If you want to utilize movement, the basic idea is to either physically dodge your opponent's crosshair or to shock them into moving their crosshair out of their comfort zone. Examples of the former category include crouch peeking, shallow peeking, or jump peeking, while examples of the latter category include shoulder peeking, wide swinging, or jumping peeking. But no matter what other movement skill you use, you have to compensate one way or another in terms of aiming. That might be adjusting your crosshair placement to accommodate for the extra movement, or having to use more raw aim for the more dynamic peaks. But wazoo! I'm learning how to movement aim precisely because I don't want to do the other 2 forms of aim. In that case, you're probably going to favor using a more utility-based approach, whether that be pop flashing, smoking the angle, or dealing damage with an HE or molly. All situations will allow you to set up your crosshair properly before the grenade detonates, and you can peek as you normally would. although you will most likely have to account for your enemy's frantic movements to avoid the grenade's effects. I won't go too in depth on nade tactics in this video. I could go on teaching about nades for days. Wait a minute. Teaching. Coaching. This video is brought to you by Gosu Academy. Gosu Academy provides some of the best resources to bring your Counter-Strike skills to the next level, such as live lessons and VOD reviews with some of the best Counter-Strike players in the world, weekly 10-man scrims guided by professional coaches, and a treasure trove of educational videos. So if you don't want to become a victim to intergalactic horrors beyond human comprehension, join Gosu Academy to hone your skills and become the best Counter-Strike player that you could be. Because remember, not even Cthulhu can counter a donk slide. Oh, and by the way, if you use my code WAZOO in Gosu Academy, you can get a whole month of free coaching by the industry's best, which apparently includes me now. So don't wait, join Gosu Academy to reach your competitive Counter-Strike goals, and I hope to see you there. My lawyers have advised me to not continue with this bit due to copyright, so let's just imagine it instead. Damn, this is unfunny. Let's talk about the other side of movement aiming, because unless you're W keying into every single fight, which I know some of you do, you're going to have to play defensively at some point. And lucky for us, we don't even have to move. Just position your crosshair at head level and wait for the T's to come rolling on in. Come on, it can't be that easy. While in the grand scheme of things, angle holding is probably the least demanding main skill in Counter-Strike, your enemies are still going to try to make it as hard as possible. So although you do have the advantage of getting to do less, you can still lose due to strategy, getting outskilled, or ping differences. Here are some ways to make it harder for the enemies to counter you. 80-80 strafing. This might look like it does nothing since your head is functionally in the same position, but it does force your enemies to have to use their raw aim, even if it is the bare minimum. So instead of making it an easy counter-strafe kill that is almost 100% consistent, you make the enemy have to micro-adjust for the last bit of movement, introducing more possibility of error. The second, more pragmatic way to avoid getting easily killed by movement aim is by posting up in a strange position, or off-angling. If you can successfully place yourself away from where your enemy might expect you, you immediately force much higher use of raw aiming. There is a bit of an art to how you choose your spots, where the main factors are exposure, how many angles that you can be peeked from, tradability, how easy it is to kill you once you are exposed, and predictability, how often that spot is played, and whether or not someone can reasonably guess that that is where you will play.
What is this? This kid's a fucking amazing savant! Dude, this guy's fucking pre-fired angles that don't exist!
The most common spots are, well, common because they have extremely minimal exposure and tradability, meaning that you will feel safe playing in these spots and have ways to escape should you be seen. But those strengths are what makes these spots so commonly played. If you choose a more unpredictable spot, you will completely invalidate your opponent's crosshair placement and movement at the cost of increasing your exposure and tradability. But I started this video talking about how to practice aiming, so how do you practice movement aiming? Unlike raw aiming, where it makes sense to get a custom map or even an aim trainer to get reps in fast and efficiently, as long as you are consciously thinking about how you are approaching fights with movement and not just autopiloting, you could totally get enough practice by just playing the game. And I would argue that it is better that you practice through real game scenarios, since movement and crosshair placement are inherently game sense dependent. But if you want to expedite the process, I would highly recommend pre-fire maps to work on crosshair placement and how to minimize exposure when you peek. You could also utilize deathmatch, however, you are most likely going to be using a lot more raw aim than you normally would in a real match, since everyone is running around looking for frags. Still, it is a great way to start getting into the habit of pre-aim, move, and adjust. Just focus more on the movement part when you're playing DM. But again, I would definitely categorize movement aiming as one of the Counter-Strike skills that is best practiced through playing the game and getting hands-on experience. But that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if I missed anything in this video, and if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Other than that, I'll see you guys very soon.